सहना भवतु सहनो भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम। Namaste, good morning. This is our Vivekananda Study Circle channel from IIT Madras. For the last few weeks, we are trying to recapitulate the main points that Swami Vivekananda presented in his lectures that he delivered across India on his return from the West in 1897. This is the 125th anniversary of those lectures. So we are going back to those lectures to see what was Swamiji's vision for India, how much we have progressed, and what is our responsibility in building our country and in protecting this grand, ancient Sanatana Dharma. Today, we'll be seeing his lecture that he delivered, the address he delivered at Ramnad. The Raja of Ramnad, Bhaskar Setupati, he was an admirer and he supported Swamiji. And when Swamiji returned, he arranged a very grand reception. He personally went to Pamban, received the Swami from the ship in his state boat, and then arranged for Swamiji's stay in his palace, and then his another palace in Ramnad. He himself came there, presented the address of welcome, and introduced Swamiji to all the big people in the town. And because the Raja took so much interest, things were made easier. And the general public themselves were so enthusiastically waiting to meet this sannyasi who had gone abroad and had brought glory to their ancient religion. A religion which was vivified by the...
Maharaj, your audio is not coming. Is it true for other people also?
No, sir, I can hear it.
No, sir.
Okay, sorry, the problem must be my end.
Shavik Surja, can you hear?
Yes, Maharaj,
We
can hear it.
Yeah. So Swamiji's, that enthusiastic reception by the common people, that touched Swamiji's heart. So in this lecture, we will see Swamiji is making a point about that also. I will share the PPT where I have selected portions from this address. I thought it would be very nice if we listen to Swamiji in his own words than simply paraphrasing it. India's individuality. I have given the title because Swamiji makes one very important point in this address, which in many other talks and addresses, he draws our attention to that. That is, each of us, we have an individuality. We have our own personality. Swamiji extends it and says, not just the individual, every society has its own individuality. And society here as whole of India. He says the whole country has one individuality that Swamiji says is the core of India. And we have to preserve that individuality. We should not change ourselves so much that we lose connection with our past. When we do that, Swamiji says you will be extinct. Or you will have no strength, no force behind you because you are just like a newborn babe. So I gave the title, India's Individuality. The very beginning, he is very poetic about the kind of change that is happening in India, which he says is an awakening. There were people in his time who said India is going to dogs, everything is lost, unless we copy the Europeans, the English, and we copy their religion, Christianity, we are all finished. At that time came this voice of Vivekananda who said, what nonsense are you talking? The best that man has discovered is with you. You have vitiated it by your crookedness, and also there is this truth that over 1,000 years of invasions have affected you. Your tradition, your links, chain of thought, customs, they have all been broken, infiltrated, corrupted. Remove those things, then you will be okay. So he says, India is awakening. I am very sure about it. These are his own words. The longest night seems to be passing away. The sorest trouble seems to be coming to an end at last. The seeming corpse appears to be awaking, and a voice is coming to us, away back where history and even tradition fails to peep into the gloom of the past, prehistoric times, when history is not even recorded. From that time, we have this tradition, and from there, a voice is coming down from there, reflected as it were from peak to peak of the infinite Himalaya of knowledge and of love and of work. All the four yogas. India, this motherland of ours, a voice is coming unto us, gentle, firm, and yet unmistakable in its utterances, and is gaining volume as days pass by. And behold, the sleeper is awakening. Like a breeze from the Himalayas, it is bringing life into the almost dead bones and muscles. The lethargy is passing away, and only the blind cannot see, or the perverted will not see, that she is awakening, this motherland of ours, from her deep, long sleep. None can desist her anymore. Never is she going to sleep anymore. No outward powers can hold her back anymore, for the infinite giant is rising to her feet. Please remember, this was in 1897 when India was in abject slavery. Congress was just giving some applications begging the British officers, rulers, please give us this, please give us that. That was the only political awakening India had. And that was only a few rich and lawyers who had come together and formed the Congress. Otherwise, no hope of any kind of freedom from the British Raj. Absolute control they had over us. And Indians themselves, the so-called educated Indians, they were taught, they were made to think all their problems is because of Hinduism, and all the useless customs, social customs which had accumulated over centuries, that was told this is what Hinduism is. Hindus themselves forgot what is real Hinduism. Every local social custom was given the stamp of Hinduism, and there were people ready to convert and say, this is what your Hinduism, it is so ugly, come over, change, convert, become a European. In your thinking, in your feelings, in your passions, everything. At that time, Swamiji is making this declaration. You should remember this. India is awakening, she will never sleep, and she will rise. Then Swamiji generously credits the Raja of Ramnad. He gives him the credit for the success of Swamiji's work abroad and his influence on India. What is this work he has done? It is interesting to see Swamiji himself describes what little work he has done. He uses the word little. He says, this is what probably I have achieved. Rousing the sympathies of Indians by drawing their attention to the inestimable jewels that they do not are lying deep buried around their own home. The best that mankind has discovered is with you in your own home, and you're looking outside for it. And instead of dying of thirst and drinking dirty ditch water elsewhere out of the blindness of ignorance, they are called to go and drink from the eternal fountain which is flowing perennially by their own home. That was Swamiji's call. Go back to the Upanishads. Go back to the Upanishads. When we talk about religion, especially Sanatana Dharma, we should understand it is true of many religions, but we are talking about our Sanatana Dharma, what is now called Hinduism. There are two aspects to it, Tattva and Dharma. Understand this, Tattva and Dharma. Tattva encapsulates the core of that religion. Here, it is in the Upanishads, not even the whole of Vedas. The end of the Vedas, which is called Upanishads, Vedanta, that is the essence of this Sanatana Dharma. Vedas, it is a huge hold on. Everything is in it. But the best, the essence is in the Upanishads. And that is the Tattva. Now, second aspect of this is called Dharma. Dharma is all those practices suited to the requirements of the society of that time, as designed by some wise men. One person or a group of people, they decide for this time and place, this is how we should think, we should act, we should conduct ourselves individually, as a family, as a society, so that we are in tune and we will be able to realize the tattva. The tattva is the core, the central point, the nucleus of the religion. But in the outside manifestation, in my life, in the world outside, how should I live so that I can keep in touch with this tattva? I can realize the essence of the tattva. That is described in dharma. This is called Manu Dharma, Manu Shastra is given. Then Agastya Maharishi has given. So many others have given this. They say for this area and this time, practice, live like this. These are the values you should live by. Why? So that you are in tune with tattva and you discover the truth that the tattva represents. So, what happened over centuries, especially in the last 1300, 1200 years, because of continuous invasions, and those who invaded had one thing, loot our wealth, and they had come with this idea that only they had discovered the truth and we had to be converted, either by the sword or in any other way, by all kinds of temptations. That, and in the process of that, our own people, they became narrow, selfish. They started becoming more fundamentalist in the sense they would not share the truths with the common people. All this put together, the dharma was vitiated. Useless practices were given the stamp of authority as telling this is what Sanatana Dharma Hinduism is. Caste system is one, sati is one, so many things. A local practice soon became the core of religion. And in that process, the tattva was forgotten. Nobody knows what it is, the tattva of Sanatana Dharma. Simply worship some god and eat some prasadam. Even now, so-called Hindus have only this much awareness. What is your Hinduism? We observe such and such and such festivals, and on these festivals we eat such sweets and we dress like this. Maximum I may know one or two shlokas. What is the tattva of your religion? That is forgotten. And this dharma, the social practices, that is described as the religion itself. This was a mistake done. So Swamiji is telling, you are going out and seeking new things, and you are forgetting the jewels deeply buried around your own home. You are going out and trying to drink some dirt water. Well, you have eternal fountain, the spring of truth, perennially flowing in your own home. Why I don't have it? People hid it from you, and you yourself lost it in that process. The third reason he says, what third thing that he says has been achieved is Indians are being roused to action and made to understand that in everything, religion and religion alone is the life of India. And when that goes, India will die in spite of politics, in spite of social reforms, in spite of Kubera's wealth poured upon the head of every one of her children. When this religion is not allowed to flower and manifest from the tattva, it will manifest in the form of this dharma, social practices, and that's when a lot of bad results come about. Ill will and narrow, crooked understanding of religion. It will not only degrade the religion, it will also never bring peace and happiness. So this kind of a misunderstanding, misinterpretation is done deliberately by some other religions and also by Hindus themselves because of their own ignorance. So Swamiji is telling...
Maharajji.
Yes?
Maharajji, some listeners are saying that the voice is low.
How do I do
Sound
that?
is low. That is what some...
Full volume with the speaker, nothing.
Okay, let me try to speak out louder then. Okay.
But we can hear you clearly.
Yes. Okay. Swamiji then draws attention to what interests India. He points out a phenomenon. He says, look at this little phenomenon. There have been immense political changes within the last 4 or 5 years. This is in 1897, he's speaking. Gigantic organizations undertaking to subvert the whole of existing institutions in different countries and meeting with a certain amount of success have been working all over the Western world. So many changes are happening in the West. Ask our people if they have heard anything about them. They have heard not a word about them. But that there was a parliament of religions in Chicago, and that there was a sannyasin sent over from India to that parliament, and that he was very well received. And since that time has been working in the West, the poorest beggar has known. Whatever I am interested in, I keep track of that news. That is what I have done. When Swamiji came here, the fishing community across Madras, they had lit lamps. One man, a Marathi British Army soldier, he came to see Swamiji and he saw all these fishing colonies lighting lamps. So he thought maybe they are celebrating some festival. So he asked them, what are you doing this? Lights, switch all the lights, because there is not a 21st century. This is 1897. So for them to light the oil lamps, it requires a lot of money and it is a big attempt. So they say, don't you know, the Jagat Guru has returned. We are celebrating his return. That was in 1897. Today, none of them, today they hate Hindus. They have been converted and taught to hate Hindus. That is the kind of transformation in 100 years. But still, even despite that, the core is religion. Holding on to that there is something beyond this world. There is a power which has manifested this world, and I would like to be in touch with that even the common beggar keeps in mind. Swamiji is telling this is a phenomenon you will see in India. And this, Swamiji says, reveals the predominant note of India's mind. The common masses of India, the Westerners, those who ruled us, they told these are all dense people, dull, they have no interest in anything, simply to do a little work, sit, do some bhajans and eat. They have no industry, lazy people. These are all the epithets given to us by the English rulers and the Westerners in general. Swamiji disagrees. He says, no, we are active in what we like. And he gives this. Our common masses are as eager and thirsty for information as any race under the sun. But then each nation has its own part to play. And naturally, each nation has its own peculiarity and individuality with which it is born. Each represents, as it were, one peculiar note in this harmony of nations. And this is its very life, its vitality. In it is the backbone, the foundation, and the bedrock of the national life. And here, in this blessed land, the foundation, the backbone, the life center is religion and religion alone. That's why even the common man, the fisherman knows that a Jagat Guru has returned. Greater things have happened in the world, in the West. He has not heard of it. He is not interested in it. Because his interest is in religion. Swamiji says, note this point. This is the difference between India and other countries. In this fact lies the secret of India holding on to its culture and religion. Swamiji says, I quote him, this is the very reason, the reason d'etre that this nation has lived on in spite of hundreds of years of persecution, in spite of nearly 1,000 years of foreign rule and foreign oppression. This nation still lives. The reason d'etre is it still holds to God, to the treasure house of religion and spirituality. This, Swamiji says, is your strength. If you hold on to God, things will change. Today this emperor, tomorrow some other emperor. Today this party, tomorrow some other party. But you know God is there and you hold on to Him, then you survive. I will not live, but my descendants will live. And as a country, as a society, we are one identity, one personality. I as an individual have a personality. Similarly, my country as an individual has a personality, has an identity. And that identity I cannot change because I don't agree with my grandfather. This has come down to me over thousands of years. Swamiji says, even if you don't believe in spirituality, you have to hold on. to spirituality because that is your core identity. Renunciation is the dominant note of Hinduism. Swamiji now brings another point. Yes, we said religion is the essence of Sanatana Dharma, of this land, the identity. Okay, then what is the dominant note of this religion which you are talking? Swamiji says it is renunciation. Please note, after this he will make another very important point. This continent is illumined with brave and gigantic minds and intelligences, which even think of the so-called infinite universe as only a mud puddle. Beyond and still beyond they go. Time, even infinite time, is to them but non-existent. Beyond and beyond time they go. Space is nothing to them. Beyond that they want to go. And this going beyond the phenomenal is the very soul of religion. Going beyond the manifested to the unmanifested is the soul of religion. It is not simply believing that there is a God somewhere. I have to go beyond this manifested universe, outside and inside, and discover that which is the unmanifest. That we call Brahman. The characteristic of my nation is this transcendentalism, this struggle to go beyond, this daring to tear the wheel of the face of nature and have at any risk, at any price, a glimpse of the beyond. You see how poetic it is and how deep. So renunciation is not simply giving up things. Renunciation is seeking the transcendental truth. People, when they put that renunciation as living family, living up pleasure, living up this and that, they are stating the truth, but a half truth. And that is not the right way to see it. The better way to see it is renunciation is trying to see the truth which is behind this manifest universe. The struggle to go beyond this manifest, peep inside and discover that which is in the unmanifest, the soul of religion. That, Swamiji says, is the characteristic of Hinduism. Then Swamiji points out a mistake that has crept in. He says, yes, but we have made a mistake. What? Some sort of materialism toned down to our own requirements would be a blessing to many of our brothers who are not yet ripe for the highest truths. This is the mistake made in every country and in every society. And it is a greatly regrettable thing that in India, where it was always understood, the same mistake of forcing the highest truths on people who are not ready for them has been made of late. Thousands of years, India had this system. You cannot present this one ideal to every human being in any society. There are different levels of progression, evolution. Swamiji says each man is, every human being is moving from a lower truth to a higher truth. Everyone is not in class 12. Everyone is not in degree. Everyone is not doing at the PhD level. There are some at the primary level, some in the middle class, some in the high school, and some have come to college. There is degradation in their progress, in the evolution of their intellectual capacity, and in their desire to know that which is behind the manifest. So if you keep this renunciation, give up everything, then that society will suffer. And Swamiji says, India suffered because of Buddha predominantly preaching only renunciation. Until then, India was a very, very strong country. The kings, they used to go, regularly they used to go out to conquest. And no country had invaded India and won over India. There were people who came, who fought, but they were assimilated. India was not trodden like it was in the last 1,000 and odd years. And Swamiji says, one reason is Buddha is continuously preaching renunciation, and the best minds in the society left society and went seeking the higher truths. The traditional Hindu way is you acquire knowledge first in the Brahmacharya ashrama. Conserve all your energies, acquire knowledge. Then you enter Grihastha ashrama, where you contribute, you build society. The Grihastha, the householder, is the pillar. He strengthens the whole social fabric. The whole society depends on him. So he has to be strong. And he does that until, say, he comes to his middle age. Then, when he sees his son is ready, his daughter is ready to take up responsibilities in society, he withdraws partially. That is called vanaprastha life. And finally, if he is ready, he and his wife, if they both are ready, they accept the final stage of life, which they call sannyasa. Once Buddha came, earlier to that, it was also true, there were exceptions to this, but society as a whole followed this system. And after Buddhism, Buddha's advent, it became more fashionable, and the power of Buddha, let us not call it fashionable, the power of Lord Buddha made it so that people said, I would like to go for the final stage right away. And from then it has been a tradition now. We also are part of that, but not the whole society. So Swamiji says, you should not keep one ideal in front of society and tell everyone renounce. They have to enjoy. There are so many who would have to rise up from that enjoyment. So make it convenient for them to enjoy. So he is pointing that out. My method need not be yours. The sannyasin, as you know, is the ideal of the Hindu's life, and everyone by our Shastras is compelled to give up. Every Hindu who has tasted the fruits of this world must give up in the later part of his life. And he who does not is not a Hindu and has no more right to call himself a Hindu. But there are childlike men in every society who require a certain amount of experience, of enjoyment, to see through the vanity of it. And then the renunciation will come to them. There has been ample provision made for them in our books. Our Shastras have told, yes, enjoy it. In Mahabharata, towards the end of Mahabharata, Vedavyasa says, with uplifted hands, I am telling people, you can enjoy artha and kama through dharma. But why are people not listening, he says. You want to enjoy life, you want to acquire wealth and prosperity, certainly you should. But do it in the framework of dharma, the framework of values, ethics. And you can achieve success in that way. And we know now, there are companies even now which are achieving excellence in work and prosperity, holding on to some values. There are big companies like that across the world. And there are also companies within one generation, they have become the richest in the country. So you also know how they become rich like that. So, but Swamiji says, there is a provision for enjoying in this world, but enjoying in the framework of dharma. But unfortunately, in later times, there has been a tendency to bind everyone down by the same laws as those by which the sannyasin is bound. And that is a great mistake. But for that, a good deal of the poverty and the misery that you see in India need not have been. This was the richest country in the world. India was the country in the world. It was so strong. Swamiji says it is not just the conqueror, it is also this mistake which we did, holding on to this one ideal for the whole society, that is also contributed to that downfall. A poor man's life is hemmed in and bound down by tremendous spiritual and ethical laws for which he has no use. Hands off. Let the poor fellow enjoy himself a little, and then he will raise himself up and renunciation will come to him of itself. Even now, we see this. Suddenly, someone who is not doing well in exams or he has given IAS exam 4 times and failed, he starts talking about renunciation. I also meet some youth like that. I have failed here, I have failed that, 6 years, nothing has happened. Now I'll become a sannyasi. So it is not a failure's place. That is the idea which has somehow got into the mind. Because I cannot succeed, anyhow, it is like the fox which says the grapes are sour because it cannot get it. Like that, because I cannot achieve anything, then I say, sab mithya hai, chhod do. That is not the right attitude of a Hindu, of anyone for that matter. If I am unable to succeed, it only is that I have to put more efforts, intelligent efforts, and struggle to excel, succeed in a line which is natural to me. I should know what are my talents, my capacities, my strengths, and according to that, try to achieve excellence in work and achieve also prosperity, acquire prosperity. Then slowly, when I see the vanity of it and I say this is all it is, nothing more in it, then the mind will turn inside. It will seek something higher. Without going through that line, if someone takes up directly this highest ideal, it is forced on him, it will only lead to mental complications and also the society will also suffer. This is the point Swamiji is making. He then makes another point. There are two great obstacles on the path in India: old orthodoxy and the modern European civilization. Of these two, Swamiji chooses to support the old orthodoxy. On the face of it, it may look, how can he do that? We'll see why. He explains it. Of these two, I vote for the old orthodoxy and not for the Europeanized system. Why? Because the old orthodox man may be ignorant. He may be crude. He doesn't know English. He doesn't know your science. But he is a man. He has a faith. He has strength. And he stands on his own feet. Even now you go to our village, interior villages. What he knows for sure, and that gives him confidence. You come to the city, highly educated, he has no shraddha, no faith in himself. All he does is quote other people, and because he has some knowledge and he has learned some techniques, he earns his money, he thinks he is successful. While the Europeanized man has no backbone, he is a mass of heterogeneous ideas picked up at random from every source. And these ideas are unassimilated, undigested, unharmonized. He does not stand on his own feet and his head is turning round and round. Where is the motive power of his work? In a few patronizing pats from the English people. Even now we have this. Some Indian writes, no, it is not very good. Some Christian named Westerner writes, immediately it is something very great. An Indian tells something, it is just accepted so and so. A white skin tells something, immediately India makes a big issue. Oh, this white skinned man told such thing. So it must be very correct. The slave mentality of more than 200 years still continues. His schemes of reforms, his vehement vituperations against the evils of certain social customs have as the mainspring some European patronage. Why are some of our customs called evils? Because the Europeans say so. The secret of a true Hindu's character lies in the subordination of his knowledge of European sciences and learning, of his wealth, his position, name, to that one principal theme which is inborn in every Hindu child, the spirituality and purity of the race. Yes, we have to learn. We have so much to learn from the West, Swamiji says. Learn, but not at the cost of giving up what you have. And the best of what you have, the essence of what you have is spirituality. Hold on to that, acquire this new knowledge from the West, because material prosperity is also required. Society requires that, and we have lost it. So now learn it from the West. And Swamiji makes this point. In return, we will give this spiritual knowledge to the West. He briefly touches it in this lecture, and in some other lectures, he expands it more. He says religion in the sense of spirituality is the central point of Indian life. We will expand it. We will start reliving it in the proper sense, and then it will flood out. That is the word he uses. Let it flood out and help the Western nations. We see it is happening now. He was the first sannyasi to go out, and after him, so many have gone. And so many forms of Indian spirituality is practiced there now, including Buddhism. Swamiji then makes a very powerful statement. He gives a warning. Just as in the case of individuals, if the principle of life is undisturbed, if the principal function of that individual life is present, Any injuries received as regards other functions are not serious, do not kill the individual. So long as this principal function of our life is not disturbed, nothing can destroy our nation. You may cut my hand, but I will still survive. But you cut my heart, I die. Everything else is okay, but you have cut my heart, I die. Like that, every nation has something beating at its center. That if it is protected, anything else can happen to it. It will still survive, it will regrow. But mark you, if you give up that spirituality, that is the heartbeat of India, leaving it aside to go after the materializing civilization of the West, the result will be that in 3 generations you will be an extinct race because the backbone of the nation will be broken. The foundation upon which the national edifice has been built will be undermined, and the result will be annihilation all around. Swamiji says, never give up the tattva. Immediately people will think, oh, you want us to practice caste system? Oh, you want us to practice all these horrible superstitious beliefs? Who told you that? That is not religion. That is not Sanatana Dharma. If you think that is your foolishness and ignorance. Remember that difference between Tattva and Dharma. And Swamiji repeatedly says, go back to the Upanishads. That is the foundation of Sanatana Dharma. That is the spring, eternal spring of truth. And you are following some foolish customs and saying that is your religion. And when I tell you, hold on to spirituality, all you know is this local custom, which is not even same across India. What you follow here in South India is abhorred there in North. And what they follow, we say, how horrible. And yet we both claim we are Hindus. How can it be? It clearly points out, you think your social customs, practices, what your mother and grandmother practice, that you think is religion. And in that process, you have forgotten the tattva. So Swamiji says, first you awaken to the truth that what you are practicing is not really the essence of your religion. Remember that example which Swamiji gives and Sri Ramakrishna gives. A man was doing Shraddha ceremony at home for his father. This is a ceremony Hindus do for their ancestors, their fathers, forefathers. It is believed that it helps them in the other regions, other dimensions of life. She had 2 sons and they arranged everything, and they were about to begin the puja. They found the pet cat was eating the offerings. Oh, it was horrible. You cannot offer this now. They had to prepare it again. And the father told, catch this pet cat, put him in that corner and place that basket over him. Until the puja is over, don't allow him out. After that, we will feed him. So one of the brothers did that. Next year, when the same ceremony was to be observed, the father is alert. He said, catch that pet cat, put him in that corner, put the basket over him, or else he will come and eat these offerings when we close our eyes. It was done. 3rd year, 4th year, 5th year, every year they were doing that. Then the father himself passed away. Now the 2 sons had to do their father's Shraddha ceremony. All the arrangements have been done. Suddenly the eldest brother, he exclaimed, my God, we forgot an important custom, tradition of our family. Younger brother said, what is it? Brother, what is it? Let us follow everything because we want our father to be happy. Then the elder brother said, don't you remember? Whenever the Shraddha ceremony was done, what would father do? He would ask us to keep the cat at the corner there and put a basket over it. Oh my God, yes. And by now the cat had died. So the younger brother ran to the market, purchased a new cat and a new basket, Baba ke vaste, brought it back, placed it in the corner, covered it with the basket and said, we are saved, our tradition is saved, our religion is saved. Like this, so many practices, they have become religion for us. We have to go back to the Upanishads. So that is what Swamiji is calling. That is what he means when he says, hold on to your spirituality. First and foremost, we must keep a firm hold on spirituality, that inestimable gift handed down to us by our ancient forefathers. Did you ever hear of a country where the greatest kings tried to trace their descent not to kings, not to robber barons living in old castles who plundered poor travelers? but to semi-naked sages who lived in the forest? Any Hindu who goes to a temple, the pujari asks him, "What is your gotra?" He says, "Such and such a Rishi's name. I am a descendant of this Rishi." Nobody ever says, "I am the descendant of such a king." When he goes to worship, he says, "I am the descendant of such and such Rishi." Across India, it is the same. Why? We take pride that I belong to an ancestor who discovered the truth. Nobody says, "I belong to such an ancestor who was a king." If he may say that, but he doesn't say that when he goes to the temple. And that is the core identity where you go into the temple. Did you ever hear of such a land? This is the land. In other countries, great priests try to trace their descent to some king. But here, the greatest kings would trace their descent to some ancient priest. Let us all work hard, my brethren. This is no time for sleep. It is the end of the talk, again very poetic. I'll read out as Swamiji says. Let us all work hard, my brethren. This is no time for sleep. On our work depends the coming of the India of the future. She is there, ready, waiting. She is only sleeping. Arise and awake and see her seated here on her eternal throne, rejuvenated, more glorious than she ever was, this motherland of ours. The idea of God was nowhere else ever so fully developed as in this motherland of ours. For the same idea of God never existed anywhere else. Perhaps you are astonished at my assertion, but show me any idea of God from any other scripture equal to ours. They have only clan gods, the God of the Jews, the God of the Arabs, and of such and such a race, and their God is fighting the gods of the other races. But the idea of that beneficent, most merciful God, our Father, our Mother, our friend, the friend of our friends, the soul of our souls, is here and here alone. And may He, who is the Shiva of the Shaivites, the Vishnu of the Vaishnavites, the Karma of the Karmis, the Buddha of the Buddhists, the Jinnah of the Jains, the Jehovah of the Christians and the Jews, the Allah of the Mohammedans, the Lord of every sect, the Brahman of the Vedantists, He, the all-pervading, whose glory has been known only in this land. May He bless us. May He help us. May He give strength unto us, energy unto us, to carry this idea into practice. May that which we have listened to and studied become food to us. May it become strength in us. May it become energy in us to help each other. May we, the teacher and the thought, not be jealous of each other. This is that Shanti mantra I began with. Peace, peace, peace in the name of Hari. So he ends with that Shanti mantra. Show any other religion which accepts other religions' form of worshipping the God. At the maximum, they tolerate. And at heart, they despise and they say you are wrong. Only I am correct. But here is this eternal religion which says, Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti. Truth is one, wise people call it by various names. And that is the spirituality which has to be preserved. How do we preserve? By practicing it. Spirituality cannot be written and preserved in books. It has to be practiced and lived. And that is the challenge, that is the responsibility of India. And it is not just for our sake, it is for the sake of whole mankind. Swamiji says, you have to conquer the world with your spirituality. And what do you mean when you conquer the world with spirituality? You share love, you share peace. And we see that's what the world needs now most. And that cannot come by anyone who says, there will be peace when all of you worship like me. There will be peace when all of you dress like me. You worship God as you want. You eat what you want. You dress as you want. But there are core principles. Love, brotherhood, practice it. This has to be practiced first by us. Even now in India, we don't have this. Swamiji gave this call 125 years ago. Still, it has not become a reality. So the challenge now in front of us is to become a better Hindu. A better Hindu is one who tries to understand and live the principles, the tattva in his everyday life. lived his everyday life in such a way that the highest principles, highest truths discovered by the rishis are realized in his own life. Swamiji says that was and that is his mission in life. In a letter, one of the earliest letters he wrote to Margaret Noble, who later became his disciple, known as Sister Nivedita, he writes, "My ideal indeed can be put in a few words, and that is to preach unto mankind their divinity and how to manifest it in every movement of life. In every action that divinity should be manifest, how to do that? I want to teach people. That is my life's goal." Now that is also our responsibility. How do we learn it? How do we do that? Yeah. That was a brief summary of this lecture. Please read that. It is available on the net. If we go on reading, we will pick up what we are ready for. Not that we will understand everything, and not necessary also. But if we can pick up some ideas, it will slowly help us to evolve. We will have a widening of our sympathies, a deepening of our understanding, and that will reflect in our choices in life. Also, in our understanding, our wisdom. This is like the dew gathering on the grass. It doesn't happen in one talk or one day I read a book. It doesn't happen like that. It's a gradual progress that evolution is the unfolding, and for that we have to be continuously at it. And Swamiji's thoughts presented here, if we can reflect, somewhere it will certainly help us to unfold the divinity within. Okay, thank you. If you have any questions on this topic, please ask. Please keep at least some half an hour today itself. Make half an hour time, read this lecture. I have presented the gist of it. I have read out his own words. It will be easier for you to now follow this flow of thoughts. First time it may look a little difficult. On a second reading, you can easily catch the flow of thoughts and you will know what is the main points that Swamiji is presenting in that talk. Okay, if there are no questions, we can conclude. Harsh, can you hear me?
Manaji Divanjan here. I can hear you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful, Swami.
Thank you.
Our viewers can directly ask a question by unmuting themselves.
Anything on YouTube? If not, we can conclude.
Just a minute, Manaji. Let me see. Manaji, one question has come,
Yeah.
but it is that he said that what is the caste system today? Is it at all necessary?
The caste system of today, is it what?
Is it at all necessary?
There is caste system in every society in the world. There is caste system in every society in the world. We don't go out and we don't see. So we think caste system is only in India. It is there across the world in every society. It is done by the birth, it is done by wealth, it is done by so many other ways. Even in India, whatever be your religion, they still have caste system. And nobody says it is necessary. What is the caste system itself? It is a very deep topic. Very, very deep topic. It takes a lot of time to understand. And I don't want to comment on that offhand like that because it is also a very sensitive topic. You know that. Anyone can take out one small quote and say, you see what they are discussing. The best way to go forward is stop bothering about this. Think about the Tattva. What does the Tattva say? Tattva says this whole universe is God. Does it say someone is not God? It says the whole universe is one manifestation. The whole universe is one manifestation. Discover that. And it has been discovered by people of all castes. It came from the profession in which they were. My father was a priest, or my ancestors were all rulers, my ancestors were all administrators, my ancestors were all, say, blacksmiths. So many of that skill I have brought forward. Swamiji says there is nothing wrong in that, but don't give privileges for any caste. That Swamiji says, let to all mistake. Don't give privileges. Equal privileges for everyone. That's what the society, modern society is trying to do. Equal privilege, equal opportunities. But in that name, again injustice is being done. Again injustice is being done. Opportunities in the name of equality, again inequality is being brought. That Swamiji was against. You will have to read Swamiji at a deeper level, and we have some books on that, because now this is the fashion in media nowadays, and people also like to do that. And it is very dangerous. They take one quotation and they write a Purana on that. They give their own turn and twist, because now what sells is sensationalism. Nobody has the capacity, depth, or time to go deep into any idea. And we have rulers like that now. Shallow mind, crooked minds. So take up one quote, beat the drums, and they have their own ulterior motives for it. If you want to understand what is caste system, how it works, then you have to go and read. You have to spend hours on that. If you don't read Ambedkar, you will understand. You will have a deep understanding of what it is and what it should not be. Nobody reads Ambedkar. It was Ambedkar who said, if you give reservation to my people, you will be giving crutches to them. They will never learn to walk. He was against reservation. The only man who knew what was good. You talk about this now openly, even what I am telling now can become a problem. Because no, people don't want to think deeply. Sensationalism, take advantage, manipulate, somehow become rich, somehow come into publicity, have your smug face printed on the paper or in the news television channels. That is heroism now. So this is a subject, if anyone is really interested, you have to read, start reading Ambedkar, start reading Vivekananda, start reading Mahatma Gandhi. If you are sincere and you want to know whoever asked this question, read these three people, you will know your answer. Vivekananda, Ambedkar, Mahatma Gandhi. Read these three, you will understand what it is, the dynamics, what is the way forward. Because, oh, it should be removed. Do you think it will be removed in India? It cannot be removed anywhere in the world. How do I improve it? How do I give equal privilege, equal opportunity to everyone? Don't bring injustice again in some other name. That is what common people need to understand. And as educated people, it's our responsibility. If you are even slightest interest in that, please start reading these three people. On my part, what would I do? I say, Swami Sri Ramakrishna says, move towards the east, the west is left behind. Give, share the truth. That's what Swamiji says. You have been giving them ditch water when the eternal, perennial, divine water was flowing. Give them that water. Jewels are hidden around your house and you are looking for it from elsewhere, in some other source. Discover it. Share it with your own people first. When you share, you don't have to talk about should this be there, should this not be there. Focus on what should be given. This is like what Bhagavan Buddha says. Someone is shot with an arrow. People come, oh, let us remove the arrow, save you. It is a poison arrow. He says, no. Don't remove the arrow. First, I want to know who shot it, what was the bow he used, what is this arrow made of, what is the metal, and from which angle he shot this, what poison he has used. Until I get all these details, don't remove this. He will die. There is a remedy. The remedy is discover the divinity within you, which is same in every human being. Share it with everyone. Don't impose it, because there are many children in this society. grown-up men, still children. They have to play with the toys. They have to enjoy life. Let them enjoy, but hold the ideal in front of them. Allow them to enjoy. Give the prosperity to them. Slowly they will rise. When you do this, you don't have to bother about should caste be there or not be there, because that is not going to solve. You remove that, some other kind of discrimination will come. You think if you remove caste system, everything will become great? Some other kind of discrimination will come. Class discrimination has come. You saw that's what communism did. They killed more people in the name of bringing equality than anyone else. Millions of people they killed. And it was class discrimination. Here it is caste discrimination. And among other religions, those religions which claim we consider all our fellow religionists as brothers, in the name of the same God, same prophet, they kill other mercilessly. So you should not get confused that caste system is the evil of Sanatana Dharma, Hinduism. That is not the essence of Hinduism. It is crookedness, it is ignorance, which tells us this is what your Hinduism is. And because we ourselves are so ignorant, we accept it. Hinduism, caste system, bada galat hai. Who told you that is the essence of Hinduism? Someone who wants you to believe that, so that you give up your religion. And you, in your own ignorance, you accept it. So please read these three great men and you will understand that, people. Yeah.
Maharaji, at the beginning of the talk, you have mentioned that each individual has a unique individuality, but we often do not see in our education system how to find out that proper individuality, how to understand that what qualities are inherent in a person or in me.
See, this education system is not the yardstick to know what I should be. It is a flawed system which is being corrected. Let us not go on throwing stones. The new national education policy is a very good education policy. Again, we have so-called uneducated fellows sitting there ruling us, claiming, no, this is wrong, this is wrong. No, they don't have an alternative, but throw stones at everything. Impartially, if you read that, it is there in the public domain. Read that, you will see what a good thing they are trying to bring. Just because I don't like the party in the central government, I say dismiss whatever they give. But that education policy which will come, which probably will help us, for now, as you asked, this system is not going to help me to find out my own individuality. And it doesn't help because that is not everything in life. If I don't go to a university and college, does that mean I am nothing? I can discover my individuality. What is my tendency? Individuality means what is my basic tendency towards? What are my natural talents, proclivities? If I flow in that direction, it will be natural for me. I will manifest more perfection. I will be able to contribute better, and it will also give me deeper sense of satisfaction and joy. No, that is not done. My father decided, yesterday I was speaking, the Jammu Ashrama had arranged a talk. The Swami met a 5-year-old boy in Jammu, and when he asked this 5-year boy, what do you want to do? The boy says, I want to be an IPS officer. Now tell me, what does a 5-year boy know about IPS officer? He has only seen in Jammu region, IPS officers are given so much of respect. Everyone salutes him, everyone fears him. So maybe he decided, I will want to be an IPS officer. Now, he doesn't even know what is his natural strength and talents. But already an ideal has been, a goal has been put in front of him, not an ideal, a goal. You have to be an IPS officer. He will never discover his individuality. Why is it that 15 lakh candidates write IAS exam, only 700 or 900 are taken? Where is 700, 900 and 15 lakh people? And we know from our own group, 4 years, 5 years, still giving exams. And someone, a friend, a Hitaishi, he knows this boy will not be able to crack this exam. He doesn't have that capacity. But the boy believes, no, I can crack it. So many cracked it after 5 attempts. I'll also crack. 10 years over, they have not cracked. Because they never understood what was their core strength. Individuality, personality is something you develop. Individuality is what is your core strength. You have an inclination, a tendency, strong tendency for something. I am pulled towards nature. Then go on that side. I am pulled towards engineering. I like to tinker with things. Go that side. I am pulled towards this arts, fine arts, but my father wants to be an engineer. Then tell him, thank you very much, but this is where my strength lies in. When you go in that, you discover your individuality. But whatever may be your profession, whatever may be the way you earn and contribute to society, Swamiji says, hold on to spirituality, whoever you may be. You may be the king, you may be the beggar on the street. Hold on to spirituality because that is the individuality of India. Now we cannot say whole India because we have so many other co-religionists. That is the individuality of Sanatana Dharma. In fact, that is also the individuality of any religion. Any religion. They hold on to God. And in India, Swamiji says, whatever may be your religion, you saw the conclusion. It is a prayer to all the forms of worship. Whatever way you call God, I accept that. I accept it. And when we talk about individuality of an individual, it should also reflect this individuality of the nation. And that individuality of this nation is Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti. So someone who claims I am an Indian, he should have this sense inside him. We accept all paths as valid paths to truth. Sri Ramakrishna presented it as Jato Mat, Tato Pat. As many faiths, so many paths to discover the truth. That is the discovery of India. So India's individuality, my individuality should be in tune with that. And this I have to discover. No books can help that. Discover that. It's a good question, but you will have to reflect because whatever I tell will not help you much unless you think, reflect on it deeply for some weeks. Thank you.
One student has asked that why we need to read Swamiji for in so many times to understand.
We need to read Swamiji so many times because our capacity for comprehension and retention is so poor. If you had the strength of Vivekananda, one reading and you will never forget and you will understand it perfectly, then you don't need to read again and again. You read your stupid textbooks 3 times to understand. And he's talking about ideas so deep. You want to understand the depth of the ideas, it will take time. That's why you have to read again and again. And for that matter, any deep thinker, it's not just Swami Vivekananda, take Shankaracharya or any other great soul, their ideas are presented in simple language, but they are deep ideas. Even a scientist, even a sociologist, it will take time because here is a mind which has gone deep into that subject. Unless I am also equal master in that, I will not be able to immediately catch it. And this is the spiritual dimension. Talking about manifestation, about something so fundamental. So I'll need a little more deeper reflection, and that requires a little more repeated reading. And it is also true, when you read the scriptures again and again, you find new meanings in it. We read the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Our senior Swamis tell us, as they grow old, they find new meanings in it. What does it mean? It only means they are evolving. Not that the text had hidden the meanings earlier. They are able to discover new meanings because they are evolving. Their mind is becoming more subtle and pure. They are able to see deeper and deeper into the same thing which they had read earlier. Isn't it true even of our normal books? I read something, now when I read it again, I read it in a different light. How did this light become different? It is my experience. It is my gathered wisdom, which I have accumulated over years, that helps me to see it in a new light. So if there is something which has touched you, inspired you, go back to it after 2 or 3 years, you will be inspired again at a deeper level. You will see new insights. Yes.
Maharaj, we can conclude.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Please try to read this. It is there in our Advaita Ashrama website, Ramakrishna Advaita Ashrama, Calcutta, and many other websites also it is available, Complete Works of Swami Vivekananda. Thank you, Sri Ramakrishna.
Thank you, Maharaj.